Good morning, everyone. Wow. We have quite the crowd here today. I'm so happy to see all of you here today. Thanks so much for coming. I'm Chris Hoplin. I'm the executive director here at Reach Out and Read Minnesota. I also want to extend a warm welcome to our virtual attendees this morning that are attending from all over the country. We're grateful to be able to share this in a hybrid fashion. We are all here because we believe in the transformational power of sharing books and stories with our youngest learners. And we think that's something to be celebrated. So I'm going to start with some thank yous. First, a huge thank you to our 2023-24 executive partner, Health Partners. We're really grateful for their leadership and for continuing to partner with us in this way. Next, we have our leadership partners, All About Books. They're one of our book vendors, and all of the lovely books that you see and can peruse on your table are from All About Books. Children's Minnesota, Primrose Schools, and our literacy partners, Alina Health, M Health Fairview, Hennepin Healthcare, Mayo Clinic, and UCare. And thank you again to our hosts and other supporters. And I was remiss that Thrivent was also a supporter of this breakfast, and they didn't get included on here. But thank you. All of these sponsors and hosts make this event possible, so we really appreciate it. Courtney Jasper, where are you? I have to give a huge shout out to Courtney Jasper and her team at Polha's Government Relations for the amazing pro bono work that they've done with us at the Capitol this session. We've had the best session ever. We had an amazing hearing in both the House of our bill in both the House and the Senate side this session. And we've had many great meetings with legislators to be able to share more about our work. So of course the session is TBD. We don't have results yet, but we're very optimistic and we will keep you posted about the results of the session. So thank you, Courtney. And finally, if I want to thank our staff and our incredible board of directors, if you can raise your hand if you fall into one of those categories. Thank you so much. You will also see that we have labels on our name tags. So after the program, if you have any questions or just want to learn more about any aspect of the program, please find a staff person or a board member and chat them up. All right. So a couple updates. As many in this room can testify firsthand, it has not been an easy year for our clinics and healthcare providers. Like other industries, there's been staff shortages, increased demand from the usual childhood illnesses, while catching up on missed well child visits. Nonetheless, commitment to our program and to supporting our youngest learners remained stronger than ever before. In 2022, our partner clinics distributed more than 317,000 books to children and their families across Minnesota. Yeah, it's amazing. We're really proud of that. That's 317,000 moments of joy, connection, and learning shared over a book in an exam room. This number far exceeds our pre-pandemic peak of about 278,000 books distributed. We also continue to grow in new ways, including a greater focus on supporting children in their very first months of life. And at the NICU, where our program, which we introduced at the breakfast last year, is now thriving and looking for new ways to grow. Recently, University of Minnesota medical students created a volunteer group to read to infants in the NICU when the parents can't be present. We've also made great strides to diversify our book selection to ensure that every child feels seen and heard. We received new grants from the Cerisi Walburn Foundation for Children and the Initiative Foundation in Central Minnesota to purchase diverse books for our clinics. We also received a grant from the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community to supply books by and about Indigenous people. We've worked with several new vendors this year, including 2 new Indigenous-led publishing companies and a vendor for bilingual Ukrainian books at the request of clinics in southern Minnesota working with Ukrainian refugee families. Please take a few minutes before you go today. There's a table in the back that's showcasing some of our diverse books that we've been able to purchase or plan to purchase in the future. And check those out before you go. I am going to wrap up my remarks there because we have some incredible guests that I think you guys are eager to hear from. So first, it's my great pleasure to introduce multiple New York Times bestselling author, Curtis Sittenfeld. Curtis is the best-selling author of 6 novels, including Prep, American Wife, Eligible, and Rodham, and 1 short story collection, You Think It, I'll Say It. Her 7th novel, romantic comedy, was just published. I can attest the fact that it's very good. I'm in the middle of reading it. So if you've already finished it, don't spoil it. I'm in the middle. And you too can read it. You can get a signed copy from Curtis after the event out on your way out. Her books have been selected by the New York Times, Time, Entertainment Weekly, and People for their 10 best books of the year list, picked for Reese Witherspoon's book club, optioned for television and film, and translated into 30 languages. Her short stories have appeared in The New Yorker, The Atlantic, and the Best American Short Stories anthology, of which she was the 2020 guest author or guest editor. And we're so lucky that she lives here in our community with her family and agreed to speak today. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. My family moved here in 2018 because my husband is a professor at the U, and we loved it. And then 18 months in, our sort of exploration of the Twin Cities and doing things communally in person came to a grinding halt, as yours may have too. So I feel like I'm still just re-emerging, and I'm so excited to be part of this breakfast. I definitely feel that the most interesting, most rewarding experiences of my life have come because I'm a writer. And being a writer came about for me because I'm a reader, which is true for almost all writers. And it's definitely, I know that there'll be sort of talk today about how beneficial it is for brain development. I think that, reading is such an incredible gift in terms of increasing empathy and compassion, and for me, like exposing me to other cultures and just, making me think and comforting me and entertaining me. And especially, I think that wonderfully, Judy Blume is, having a moment again. So I think of like my 9-year-old self finding Forever at a used book sale. And it was definitely not about like healthy brain development that made me embrace that book. Like it's something a little more essential. But anyway, I'm actually, my book, Romantic Comedy, just came out 5 weeks ago, which is kind of amazing and very exciting. But I'm actually going to read a tiny bit from a book of mine that came out 15 years ago, to my astonishment. It's called American Wife, and I think you'll pretty quickly understand why I'm reading this section. It's sort of a celebration of children's books, but it's also, I'm a parent, and my kids are now 12 and 14. And so I have to say, even like seeing these picture books on the table, there's something like, I feel like my heart leapt a little bit. And people, because I'm a writer, people often say to me like, what are the books you most reread? And I think, oh, the ones when my children were little, which I memorized, and in some cases am so attached to, that I still have not given up. Like, Mama Loves You and Please Baby Please. I don't know if those are familiar. Anyway, okay, I'm going to read this section. So the main character of American Wife, this is a tiny spoiler, she eventually becomes a first lady, but at the time it's she's just started dating a politician, or an aspiring politician. So I'll read that. Okay. I had graduated from the University of Wisconsin in 1968, taught for 2 years, then returned to the university to get my master's in library science. What I'd realized while teaching was that the part of the school day I loved most was reading period. Charlotte's Web, Harold and the Purple Crayon, Blueberries for Sal. The kids sitting cross-legged on the floor, their eyes wide, their bodies leaning forward with anticipation. If I could be a librarian, I decided, it would be like reading period lasting forever. After I'd earned my master's degree in 1972, I went to work at Lease Elementary, and 5 years later, at the age of 31, I was still there. My project that summer was this. I was creating 10 large paper mache figures of characters from children's books, among them Eloise, the mother and baby rabbits from the Runaway Bunny, and Mr. Sneeze from the Mr. Men series. I'd used chicken wire to fashion the triangular points of Mr. Sneeze's oversized head. I'd had the idea the previous fall when I saw a little girl on my street dressed as Pippi Longstocking for Halloween. By the way, this is like 1977. In this I know, I wish I still saw that. In this spring, I'd written to publishers asking for permission. I suppose I could have gotten away with not doing so, but the idea of being a librarian who infringed on copyrighted material made me shudder. By the way, I should also add, I'm the daughter of a librarian. And in early June, I'd bought the materials. By the time school opened after Labor Day, I planned to have all the characters displayed on the library shelves, or in the case of the paddle to the sea figure in his canoe, hanging over the entrance. I'd been surprised by the scope of the project. I had thought it would take only a couple weeks, but the longer it lasted, the more absorbed I became. At first, I'd worked in my living room, but the characters began taking up so much space, and I didn't want anyone who might come over to see them before I was finished. So I'd covered the floor of my bedroom and even the couch with and even the bed with butcher paper, then started sleeping on the living room couch. When I was working, I wore a denim skirt and old shirts of my father's, often dropping globs of the flour and water mixture on myself and perspiring because I didn't have an air conditioner. Every morning before it got hot, I'd cut through campus and walk along Lake Mendota, the sun sparkling on the water, the waves lapping lightly at the shore, and then I'd come back and work until lunch. During my walks, and sometimes in the middle of the night, I'd suddenly have an idea about, say, how to create more realistic eyebrows for Maurice Sendek's I Don't Care, Pierre, by snipping up a black wig, because when I painted on the eyebrows, they just looked flat. Early in the evening, I'd stop working and make a corn and tomato salad or broil a pork chop. And after dinner, I'd perch on the windowsill of the bedroom and drink a beer and admire my progress. I hadn't mentioned the project to anyone, and sometimes I worried that the other teachers might find it odd or excessive. But when I thought of the children entering the library on the first day of school, I felt excited. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I would be happy to meet or talk to any of you at the sort of signing table. And the books, by the way, are not free, but I would still be happy to meet you if you come through and don't buy one. I would still, we can chat. Okay, thank you so much.
Wow. Well, thank you for being here, everyone. And thank you, Curtis, for those just amazing words. You now have, I don't know, 200 friends here. So we're really happy that you're living in the Twin Cities, and hope to, read your books and have you back here more often. And now I just wanted to take a picture from this view because it is so amazing to see all of you here this morning. And sometimes when you're in this position, it's just a really cool thing. So I'm going to make you all like wave for a second. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, wave. Thank you, everyone. That'll be great. Okay. So today, well, first of all, I'm Gigi Chawla. I'm the state of Minnesota's medical director for Reach Out and Read, and I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you. And today we are celebrating the transformational power of literacy. You've heard it before from Reach Out and Read community many times before. You heard it from Curtis today, and you'll continue to hear it. Just sharing a story with a loved one is a changing force. I see it myself during clinic visits with young families and our patients. And during the past 3 years of the pandemic, these have really felt like lost years for our patients and families. As clinicians, we had limited our access to patients coming into the clinics when we just didn't know enough about COVID. And now we just don't even have enough availability to meet what patients and families are asking for, either for sick visits or for well visits. And that is really because of, staffing issues and our work-life balance as we're trying to recover from the pandemic. And the focus that we sometimes need to place on kids who are sick and just need to be seen. But what has been missing often is those well child visits. And as you all know, those well child visits are when we talk about reading, we offer Reach Out and Read, we promote brain development and infant child bonding. And I think what we've seen so far is a little bit of a slippage in the schools, academically for kids and social and emotionally for kids. And so this is really what makes our job in healthcare even more poignant now, and that we reground our families of the important role that they play in early childhood development, in brain development, and getting kids ready from a social emotional standpoint to one day be in the schools again. For kids in my clinic, we have books in multiple languages where the protagonist is representative of the multiple cultures that we serve. One of my favorite things to do is to share these books with patients as part of my exam and as a distraction during my exam. It's also a great example, I think, for parents to see that the distraction and entertainment a book offers is just as easy as handing them a cell phone or an iPad. And so I really like to ensure that families see that again. The pandemic has really shown us that getting back to basics with things like books is our path through. Now, there's no real great way to know what the pandemic will offer.
O, jesteś?
What is in store
Jesteś, doskonale.
for and what is in store for our young children and their families.
To fantastycznie. Idę sobie kawkę jeszcze zrobię.
Okay. But one thing I can say with great confidence is that during well child check visits, I will continue to be offering a book to patients and families, regardless of the circumstances. And I know that thousands of healthcare workers across the state and across the nation will be doing the same, because we know that the simple act of sharing a story, of snuggling together with a book, will be an essential part of bonding and caring for a child and their family, despite any circumstance that will come our way. How are we doing, Liam? Okay. Excellent. So thank you. And next, I would love a slide change. All right. Getting back to basics. Okay. Because I'd love to introduce the Gilchrist Award. So I'd like to celebrate a colleague who embodies this approach wholeheartedly. It's my honor to introduce our Gerald Gilchrist Medical Champion Award, an award named after Dr. Gerald Gilchrist, an early and constant champion of the Reach Out and Read program in Minnesota. This award seeks to honor a healthcare provider whose exemplary leadership has made the Reach Out and Read program all it can be in pediatric primary care. Our winner this year, I am so pleased to announce. Let's see if I can. Nope. Okay. I thought I had a slide. Okay. No one should leave me alone, basically. So I'm the winner that I am so pleased to announce, and I have literally known for, we were just counting it up, 4 decades, because we went to college together, is Kara Jacobson. So Kara Kara is a familiar face to many in the Reach Out and Read Minnesota community and those who know her here, as well as many families she has served over the years. They can all testify to her compassion, her commitment, and her deeply personable approach to caring for her young patients. Kara is a nurse practitioner at the Minnesota Community Care's La Clinica site on the west side of St. Paul. She has been described by Reach Out and Read program staff on multiple occasions as being being on a literacy mission for her young patients. Kara takes a patient first approach to her care, getting to know each patient and their family personally through active listening, and seeks to understand each of them by seeing the world through their eyes. La Clinica, as the name implies, serves a predominantly Hispanic population where more than 3/4 of the patient population speaks Spanish in the home. Kara has made it her work to ensure that there is a consistent supply of Spanish language books and books that represent the diverse cultures that La Clinica serves. Even during the constant change, uncertainty, and upheavals of the pandemic, Kara made sure that she always had high quality books to share the comforting and empowering effects of sharing story with every family. In her glowing nomination, she is described as being dedicated to strengthening the St. Paul community she serves by providing access to the exceptional healthcare, one book at a time. Please congratulate me in joining Kara.
Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, the patients that we serve at Minnesota Community Care are bilingual, and many of the people just came off the plane and just got here. So the Reach Out and Read program has been wonderful to welcome them to the state of Minnesota, to welcome them to the United States, and to bridge that gap of feeling scared in an unfamiliar country. And then now I'm giving them this gift, and that's how I present it, un regalo para tu niño. So it's a gift for your child that makes them feel welcomed and seen and valued. And for a lot of the parents, they're loving the bilingual books because then that gives them the opportunity to learn English while they're reading along with their Spanish speaking child. So it's been wonderful. So I really am appreciative of the program and what it's doing for my patients that I serve, and I'm sure for all the patients that you serve as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gigi, and congratulations, Kara. I'm sure that she doesn't remember this because she has so many thousands of patients, but Kara was my daughter's first healthcare provider, literally first in the mother baby center the day after she was born. So special connection. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Artika Tyner. Dr. Artika Tyner is committed to creating a world of inclusive leaders who will meet the pressing needs of today and work towards a better future where racial justice and economic justice reign supreme. As a motivational speaker, author, and educator, Dr. Tyner helps people of all ages connect with their gifts and develop tangible tools for bringing forth sustainable, durable change in the family, workplace, community, or school. By building and leveraging the tools in the inclusive leader, she has inspired thousands of people to lead with their own gifts and plant a seed of social change. Her work is grounded in extensive experience as a law and leadership professor, lawyer, social change agent, researcher, and nonprofit founder and leader. She is well known as a thought leader, author, and designer of high-profile programs to drive organizational DEI initiatives and create inclusive leaders. Her impact spans Fortune 500 companies, tech startups, healthcare providers, government services and agencies, higher education institutions, and grassroots organizations. Welcome, Dr. Tyner.
Thank you. I'm in wonderful company. Anytime that you're surrounded by people who love books and love babies, you're in the right place. So when I think about the theme that we have for today, that literacy is transformational, I think about my own story and my own journey. As I looked out the window today, you are in my backyard in the Rondo community. And the very foundation of our work has been around education. And when I'm talking about education, oftentimes the misconception is it starts in K through 12 education once you end up in the kindergarten classroom. And that's where I started my career, by the way. But the reality of it is it starts much before that. It starts in the early moments from when a child is in the womb all the way up to that experience of crawling and crying. And I know we oftentimes have that first word, we believe they're saying mama or dada, but it's really no. I have 10 nieces and nephews. They start off with no. No, and that's mine is the phrase of the hour. But in all seriousness, we know then that we all have a responsibility around educating and inspiring our youth. And to me, that's very personal. It's rooted in my cultural values of being from Rondo, and also my cultural heritage as we connect back to Mama Africa. Oftentimes we hear the story of Harambe, which in Swahili means both let's pull together and also how are the children. Oftentimes we start our days of how are you? Do you have enough coffee? Do you like the Vikings? How are the Twins doing? And Minnesota, we also gear it up related to the cold. Is it snowing? Is it raining? We talk weather. But we know the lessons of Harambe is more intentional, begging the question of how are the children, and knowing that a society is anchoring itself in the health and wellness of the future when we can say confidently the children are well. Now, unfortunately, we cannot say this right now because of a myriad of different issues, but we can strive towards the goal that when we hear Harambe, that we can say the children are well. And for me, that starts off with books and libraries. I have given myself my own title and award of the Rondo Library MVP. And so when I walk in, I'm just right at home and I stop the whole operations. I got to slow it down a little bit because they're like, Dr. Tyner, which project you're working on? I'm like, no, we have to serve everybody else, but it's my home base. When I was a child, it was a bit closer. It was right here on Lexington Parkway. And just to set the context, because it's not just for me, it's for many children. My reality was just a 1 mile radius going from Dale. And if I got up to Snelling, literally most of my academic career was on Snelling at Highland Park. And then I ventured off to Hamlin. Oh, I couldn't leave Snelling Avenue. So my life is just right here. But the reality of it is, through the power of books, my life spanned the world. I was in a Mandarin Chinese immersion program throughout my K through 12 education. In addition to that, I had the experiences through arts and culture to start with the power of a book, to change my life beyond the limitations of that 1 mile radius, to know that I was a world citizen, and better yet, that I could impact the world. How about that? Sounds like the power of books. I also made a commitment. To date, I've written 35 children's books, a commitment of writing for justice, because I saw a gap. Yes, it's wonderful to have children's books, but I'll talk about this more later. The reality of it is these books still yet do not reflect the beauty of America. What an invitation for each and every one of us to create change in meaningful ways. I'm also a civil rights attorney. So oftentimes I think about my work as it relates to books and literacy as a social justice issue, because the reality of it is, if we are not able to bridge our nation's reading crisis, we've heard it, and sometimes it sounds a little cliche, that you can use 3rd grade reading scores to project the number of prison beds 10 years out. Now, some people say, myth buster. Don't worry, we're not going to get into all that. But we are going to say that there is a correlation between illiteracy and future incarceration, hence the metaphor. And we'll leave it at that, because I know sometimes we get so technical, we forget what we're talking about. So as a civil rights attorney, being deeply rooted in these principles. And last but not least, as a leader in the community, creating a nonprofit that focuses on literacy for our children called Planting People Growing Justice. So here it is. What is our mission? Our mission is to plant those seeds of social change. Literacy is the very foundation of our work. We do this in 2 ways, through our Leaders or Readers program, and also through our youth writing competitions. Our goal is, and our notion is simple, leaders are readers. Our goal is to inspire our young people to start reading today. So I hope you can see the connection now between Reach Out and Read and our work related to Planting People Growing Justice, because we want to create those spaces where young people begin to read begin to reimagine and build the leadership skills we need to change the world. So how do we do this? In two ways. One, by promoting literacy, which I already alluded to, and why I decided to take this action, because most of my clients learned how to read while in prison. And I knew that that was truly a miscarriage of justice, that we could do better in some meaningful ways, and that we could be impactful. And why is this relevant? 60 to 80% of those who are incarcerated cannot read. And if you do not believe me, you can check out the data yourself from the Department of Justice and realize that not only can we do better, we can change the course of our nation's history by getting involved early and often. When we look at this piece related to literacy, unfortunately, we've created a rule of 4. When 1 in 4 American children cannot read at grade level by 4th grade, we've increased their likelihood of dropping out by 4 times. And then here's the end as it relates to my work. We've increased their likelihood of being arrested by 3.5 times. So it tells me something immediately of someone who's been a civil rights attorney for nearly 2 decades now, that there is one thing that I can do to disrupt the school to prison pipeline. There's one thing that I can do to eradicate one of the entry points. There are many into the tangled web of incarceration. I can be intentional in my work and understand the notion that reading is powerful and transformational. So hence the notion of my own work on focusing on leadership and reading and literacy. But I'd be remiss not to focus also on the reality. I wear another hat as well. I own my own publishing company. You know, I'm not too original. It's called Planting People Growing Justice as well. So don't worry, you can find me easily. Just PPGJ, you're all into my work. But I started the publishing house because I couldn't find the books that reflected me. I was an avid reader my whole life, but there are only 2 places where I saw someone that looked like me in the books that I was reading. Sweet Valley High threw in a black girl out of nowhere. They were like, just throw her. Babysitters Club said, let's follow suit. Jessica can watch babies too. And I thought to myself, interesting. On the nonfiction side, of course, we had books about Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, many of them. But the reality of it was, that was only one dimension. That truly we could be intentional. Fast forward to today, we still are more likely to see a book on the cover having a black bear or a black dog than a black boy or a black girl. We've made progress, but still yet not enough. A representation of the beautiful, what Dr. Maya Angelou talked about, the rich multicultural tapestry of America. Why would we not represent this in our books as well? So instead of complaining about a problem, I teach my students, when we see a problem, we create a solution. I got busy building for change. I started writing the books that I wanted to see and started training other diverse authors to join me as we created a new pathway in the publishing industry. And some of you may say, hold on, Dr. Tyner, you don't know the data. We are seeing more diverse books. Yes, we are, but not representative of the children that are in America today. The multilingual books that Dr. Kara talked about, the books that reflect the children in meaningful ways, we still don't have them. And then if you say, yes, we have an increase in the number of books, unfortunately, still yet, less than half of them are written by diverse authors anyway. So I'm going to ask you to also be intentional. It's not just about getting a book in the hands of a child. Get the culturally relevant materials that reflect the cultural experiences, not just for children of color. Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop said it best, that we have a responsibility to create 2 things, mirrors and windows. Mirrors for children of color to see a positive representation of themselves on the pages of books, but also windows for all young people to have a cultural experience that extends beyond their own. So what an invitation for each and every one of us to think about how we can lead change and be a part of this transformation. So our model focuses on working directly with children and families. In fact, we sit here in this space and we have a partnership with the Wilder Foundation as well. And my mantra as I work with families, and it sounds like this is what we have in common as well with Reach Out and Read, is acknowledging that parents, community members are the first educators. Now, unfortunately, in many circumstances, I've seen parents believe that it's not them. that is someone else, that they have to wait for the teacher, wait for someone with more credentials. Now, learning for me happened in every aspect of my life. I learned mathematics before kindergarten. Aha, where did I learn? Oh, counting beans with my mother. Pinto beans, black eyed peas, I was a counting queen. And then I had an added bonus, Walker West Music Academy. Mr. Walker, Reverend Walker, he'd be across the studio and he'd wrong note, you didn't count it right, start over. I thought my name would start over by the time I got to kindergarten. It's like, thank you, Reverend, I'll start over. But I learned all these things. And the reason why I'm giving these examples, because learning happens everywhere. And if we embrace that experience of learning happening everywhere, we are creating an opportunity to bring forth equity in meaningful ways. Because where we sit right here in the St. Paul community, roughly about a quarter to 30% of the children that look like me are reading at grade level. As a whole, we're not over 50% of students reading at grade level. What an invitation on how powerful we all can be on helping to change that data and making a new reality come alive. So let's talk briefly about how we do this. The first thing is we go into schools. I never had the experience to have an author visit my school. More or less, I'd never met a diverse author until I was an adult. So we're bringing diverse authors into the schools, building a connection with children. Yours truly have been on the road. So it meant I went throughout the state for the Minnesota Author Tour. I was in Grand Meadow. I'm going to Faribault. So we've had all these experiences, even for myself, to bring leaders or readers across Minnesota. I didn't realize Minnesota was this big. You see here, 10,000 lakes. It's like, how many miles am I putting on my car? But I'm loving it because it's that experience of bringing those mirrors and windows through books to schools across our state. In addition, our writing competitions. It was interesting, of course, for me to continue to write books. Clearly, I can do that. But what about training the young people to be their own writing ambassadors? So this photo represents, you don't see the whole group here, the 23 young people that came together to write our latest youth anthology. And what the joy was, is that they could tell their own stories. Because oftentimes we hear the African proverb that really the stories, and I'll paraphrase until we change this, and this is from Chinua Achebe, one of the noted authors. He gives us a challenge that until we change who's writing the narrative, the stories will always glorify who? The hunter instead of the lion. So what is he talking about? Not just a hashtag of own voices, not just a hashtag of we need diverse books. He was talking about the importance of grounding ourselves in culture and history. And let me give you the added bonus. If we can do this, we can help young people also find joy in reading. And reading can be impactful. And we can truly bridge some of these gaps in meaningful ways. In addition, of course, here's our wilder partnership that I couldn't wait to talk about. Working with the African American Babies Coalition. We know their tagline is that brains are built by focusing on those critical years of 0 to 3 when that brain's like a sponge where learning is happening. And in fact, I have to tell you a story of being in community. We launched African American Babies Coalition in this room with the perspective that we could come together in meaningful ways to connect family and community with learning. But here it is, give you a homework assignment. Come see what we created. The Raw Library, which stands for Reading, Arithmetic, and Writing, is actually in the Wilder Child Development Center. So you can go and you can see the visual of what it really means on creating representation in books, being impactful, bringing family and community directly in. And I know you might have a question then. You said, well, if you're the Rondo Library MVP, why didn't you bring the babies to the library with you? Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But I will also give you a challenge as we bring learning. Remember what I said? Wherever we are. So literally the babies, our babies, they even have their own library card and they check out books once a week to prepare them to go to my Rondo Library. Notice I said mine, like, you know, my tax dollars, right? But we are creating the learning experience to create what? A cultural shift. Because a part of reading and learning is something that has to be incorporated into daily life. What an invitation. In addition, as we think about how all these pieces can be impactful, it's not possible without partners like Reach Out and Read. It's not possible without partners like Dr. Gigi, because I remember our first calls as well. It's not possible without all of us coming together to have a greater impact in our community. Hence why I hope we have an understanding of what we've come here to do today to increase the capacity of reach out and read and even have a greater impact in meaningful ways. So one of my partners, I love sports, Minnesota Twins. I was like, let's hit this show on the road. So the Twins travel with me for the Leaders or Readers program. The Twins travel with me as we go out in the community and make an impact. And with the support, literally, we started, all of a sudden, my house became the book house. I didn't know where my laundry was, where my table was. And fast forward to today, we have our own office space, but we started off in my house. And this is one of the lessons that I want to leave you with as well. Sometimes we wait for someone else. We say the sea is so wide, my boat is so small, someone will come, someone will change the circumstance. No, the person you're waiting for is you. So I want you to make sure that you look in the mirror each day and say, if I'm going to lead change, it's not someone else's responsibility. It starts with me. It's those I am statements. And so we started in my living room, literally. My friends and they know I don't like complaints. It's like, no, if you don't have a solution, just save the words for another day. But it was an idea of everyone saying, what can we do about the criminal justice system? What can we do about education? How can we create change? There were a bunch of what ifs, but the possibility emerged right in front of us. The data showed us the story. What could we do about reading and literacy, and how could we be impactful? We initially started and said, we'll donate 1,000 books and we're done. That's beautiful. Get the books to the babies. We accomplished the mission. But we soon found that the community wanted more from us. They said, what's next? I was like, well, hey, we accomplished our mission. We said 1,000 books. We did that. Fast forward to today, you'll see the announcement soon. We've donated 20,000 books. Why does this matter? Thank you. Why does this matter? Because it's a reminder that we each can make a difference and make an impact. And I know some people say, well, shouldn't it be 2 million by now, 3 million? Of course, it could be all of those numbers. But remember where I started. We're still producing and gathering diverse books, being intentional on what we're doing. So as we continue to build capacity, we will continue to see the numbers grow. But we had to shift the industry and shift book production. We had to shift a lot of barriers. And I'm saying this to somebody that may be feeling a little discouraged. Where you start is not where you finish. There will always be barriers, but there's always workarounds. And I know I'm in a company of people who understand that. And we took those barriers and those challenges and turned them into opportunities, because we knew that the transformation around leadership, around reading, around literacy is really a call to action. So I leave you with the words, Minister Malcolm X. He says, education is a passport to the future. But the next line resonates with me on a day-to-day basis. It's a reminder that tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So I want to remind you, your investment and your support and reach out and read is about tomorrow. It's about inspiring a young reader like myself. As a first-generation student who wasn't sure what college would look like and didn't get enough of school, ended up even becoming a professor. You're investing in a tomorrow that you cannot see, step by step by step. By this piece of, and hence the name of our organization, Planting People, Growing Justice, planting that seed. And my hope is we all will have different roles on this journey. One will plant the seed, another will nurture and prune it, another one would water it. But the question is, will you do your part? And I believe the words of this piece, that if education is a passport for the future, the real equity issue at the heart of that quote is, how can we provide meaningful opportunities around education, not for some, but for all? So Reach Out and Read is uniquely situated because wellness checks are designed for all young people. So we can make sure that we're providing that solid foundation to not only read, but to lead. So I want to thank each and every one of you for the work that you're already doing. But I want to give you the invitation on how we can go a step further and continue the work and expand our collaborations and our partnerships and touch the lives of even more, notice what I'm going to say, of our children. I've been around long enough legislative advocacy, litigation, all types of interesting things. You know, I tell people I come with the carrot or the stick, you choose today. And so I've been around long enough to give enough people choices. And they tend to say, well, you know, where are the parents? Oh, at the legislature, that's all they yell at you. Try it out. Do some juvenile justice. You know what I mean? I'm getting a nod. Yes. Where are the parents? They put a lot of bass in their voice. I'm like, calm it down. Inside voice. Then they go, there's not enough money. Well, maybe so. We print it. Don't worry. We print it. And then, you know, once it gets real serious, they turn in and say, oh, it's only a certain group of children that are suffering. When one child suffers, they all are. Where am I going with this? That although we can make many excuses, we can identify many challenges, let this be an invitation. When we say children, put our in front of it, our children, because it's an opportunity for us to make sure we're responsible. And this is where I'll close. That responsibility about Harambe, how are the children? We can affirm ourselves. And if we believe the children are ours, we can have a greater impact. So I'm going to thank you in advance of the work that you're already doing, but the work that you will continually do to make sure this mantra, not on just on the brochure or on the tagline, but that we help transformation happen in lives. Education can do it. Books can do it. Literacy can do it. And you and I can create change. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Tyner. Thank you for grounding us in where we are geographically and in our mission and for the work that you do. It is a gift and an honor to have you in this space with all of us today. And I am so grateful and joyful to just look out at all of you. I am Lauren Gilchrist. I am honored to be a part of this organization and to be on the board with my other illustrious board volunteers. And this is an incredible organization. I feel like not everybody can get people out at 7:30 in the morning. And this is just testament to the beauty of this mission. This organization brings the power of books and literacy to over 170,000 kids per year in our state. And you've heard throughout the morning how this magic happens. I am really, really proud to support this organization because, as you heard, this is an organization that is close to my heart, to my family's heart, and because the mission is so clear. We know that the research is clear and that literacy, as Dr. Tyner talked about, boosts reading, just reading to kids, boosts language, it boosts communication, and it sets kids up for success on their path. And as we say on our great shirts, which you can get out there, books build better brains. It's a great motto and one that I'm always proud to wear. And then also just beyond the mission and beyond the statistics, bringing it really back personally, I was thinking about this last night. My dad, Jerry Gilchrist, when he brought my kids their first book, I have twin boys, and they were just barely able to sit up. And it was one of these cloth Dr. Seuss books, and it was bright yellow and bright red, and they just held it and they had this tactile experience with a book. And I realized, oh my gosh, our relationship with books starts so much earlier. Like Dr. Tyner says, it doesn't start in school. It can start in infancy. And I didn't fully realize that. And they drooled all over it. And they just loved that book. And their fascination with books has just grown with time. And it's one of the greatest joys that we have as a family. So I love being a part of this organization because our vision is so beautifully clear. We partner with clinics to get books into the hands, and we want to do it for every kid in this state. And that is why we have you all here today. There's no judgment, too, as Dr. Gigi talked about. This is about clinicians connecting with families, and it's about joy, the joy of books. And the other thing that we've talked about throughout the morning that I'm so grateful for and proud of, and that has been an evolution for the organization, is to bring more diversity into the books that we have, more language, so that those families feel welcome and they see themselves in the books that they're receiving. They see themselves and their kids in the pictures and in the language. And so, the reality is, because we're all practical people here, we're Minnesotans, books cost money. So we are fortunate to have philanthropic support from a number of foundations, but individuals like all of you, like all of us, actually play an incredibly important role in this mission. So today we each have the opportunity to really be a part of this journey in making every kid in Minnesota a reader. And so I encourage us all to please go ahead and let's not be shy. You've got QR codes on your table. So if folks could take a minute and pull out your phone and think about your first book. Think about some of your early memories of books and think about the opportunity that we all have today to be a part of making that a reality and that joy a reality for every kid in Minnesota. So I'm going to pause and let everyone get your phone out. Don't be shy. You also have the opportunity, we have a card reader out on the way out. So if you prefer to do that instead of the QR code, sometimes people's cameras are funky, feel free to do that too. But please make a donation today that is meaningful to you. We understand everyone's in a different place, and I've been listening to the pledge drive all week on NPR. So many of us have probably been hearing lots of requests for money, but really any level that's meaningful to you will make a difference in this mission. So thank you. Thank you for being here this morning and for being a part of this journey, whether it's your first time here and you're just learning about Reach Out and Read, or you're one of the clinicians who's been part of this mission. And I also want to thank the staff. Our staff are out all the time across the state, connecting with clinics, connecting with clinicians, and making sure that there's fidelity in this program. And we can say that it's evidence-based. So this organization, this mission has heart, and we also have research. It's kind of a winning combination. And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention that we are here because of our incredible executive director, Chris Hopland. So I want everyone to just take a moment. So Chris is actually celebrating 10 years at Reach Out and Read, which just shows her commitment and what an inspiring organization this is. And during her time here, she has inspired more and more people to join the organization. She has been able to reach across the aisle. She's brought along legislators across the political spectrum, and she has increased Reach Out and Read in her time here from 91 clinics to about 307 clinics today. And we had, thanks to Liam, a little count of the books. Under Chris's leadership and with her incredible tenacity, more than 2.2 million books have been distributed across this state. So come on up, Chris. We on the board just have a small gesture of gratitude for your 10 years, this decade of love and commitment you have given this organization and kids in Minnesota. So thank you. All right. Thank you all for being here. One of the great things about the Reach Out and Read breakfast is that we are very punctual. We always make sure that you have the opportunity to make a donation before you leave and get back on the road. So thank you all for being here this morning. Take care.